Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. During the day you are an ordinary high school student, but at night, you roam the city hunting monsters that feed on humans. We are in the Blood Sea anime, episodes 1, 2 and 3. Saya is a sweet and clumsy girl who lives in the temple of a small village in Japan with her father, Mr. Tadayoshi. Her mother was a priestess of the temple where they live and was brutally murdered by a furukamono, a creature that feeds on humans, when Saya was still a child. The young woman's mission now is to follow her mother's footsteps, defending humanity from these evil entities. Saya has abilities that even she is unaware of. At the beginning of the first episode, the girl sees a very strong white light, but cannot reach it. One of her main goals is to discover the meaning of it. Moments later, her father appears and reveals to the girl that that light may contain a prediction of something that will happen in the future and that will directly impact her destiny. Mr. Tadayoshi asks Saya to tell him immediately, in case she finds out anything. As you may have already noticed, Tadayoshi is a very strict teacher and father, but the girl doesn't mind that because she is always very concerned about pleasing him. After their conversation, Saya runs to get dressed and leave for school. As usual, the girl is late. On the way, the young woman goes to Café Guimauve, where she and her father eat all their meals, since neither of them knows how to cook. There, the girl is welcomed by Fumito, the owner of the cafeteria, who makes the best sweets in town. It is curious that the young man is almost the same age as Mr. Tadayoshi, but appears to be only a few years older than Saya. After having her breakfast, Saya runs to get to class on time. The big problem is that the young woman is distracted by anything that gets in her way. But this time, by some miracle, she manages to arrive even before her teacher. Even her friends are surprised by the situation. None of them imagine that clumsy teenager is a bloodthirsty warrior. Another very intriguing character from this anime is her classmate, Takazan. The boy seems to be watching Saya the whole time. Even the girl is intrigued by the way Takazan looks at her. Does he suspect something? During class, Saya has a vision again. Not even the girl knows how to interpret what that was. At the end of the day, the girl runs home. According to her, her father is waiting for her to help him prepare a ceremony. On the way back home, Saya finds a small dog and tries to get close to him, but soon gives up on the idea. After all, she had promised her father that she wouldn't be late. The girl then heads towards the temple and, when she arrives, her father is already waiting for her. They enter the house and Mr. Tadayoshi informs Saya that the 8 trigrams pointed out that a new furukamono, also known as the Old Ones, would appear that night. He hands the girl the sacred katana called a Goshinto. This is the only sword capable of defeating the furukamonos, and it asks her to kill that evil creature. It is now that the journey begins. Saya follows through the woods until she finds something strange standing in a stream. What appeared to be a Buddha statue looked rather strange. The girl pulls her sword and heads towards that furukamono. Finally, that creature shows that it is in fact alive and goes for Saya. She lands a few blows on the monster, but nothing happens. He goes full speed towards the girl, but she manages to knock him out. But of course it wouldn't be that easy to defeat that monster, would it? He suddenly stands up and huge claws appear on his body. The girl is attacked again and the monster manages to knock her under the water. Then he tries to kill the girl by striking a few blows on her in the face. When the statue thinks it has hit Saya, the girl gets up and stabs him in the neck with her sword. The monster throws Goshinto away. Clearly, he has no intention of surrendering or fleeing. Saya runs to try to retrieve her sword, but the creature is faster and manages to knock her down. The young woman is now in a hand-to-hand clash with Furukamono. She tries to dodge his blows, but that entity grabs her by the neck and starts swinging her in the air. When all seems to be lost, Saya manages to free herself from those claws and retrieve her sword. She then rips off the monster's arms. Her eyes turn red and she manages to give the final blow. The girl and the entire stream are filled with blood. The creature was dead. When she returns home and sees her father, her countenance completely changes. Saya appears again to be that sweet and helpful girl that her friends know, even though her hands are shaking excessively. Together, the two make their way to the temple so Mr. Tadayoshi can purify the sword. In the following nights, new creatures appear and Saya must defeat them if she wants to keep the villagers safe. This time, the creature looked like a blend between a giant bat and a werewolf. The girl exchanges blows with Furukamono. He attacks her and inflicts a wound on her face. The monster manages to knock her down, but when it goes to attack Saya again, the girl rips her head off with her sword. At the end of the fight, Saya's eyes turn red as blood again. The next morning, everything is back to normal. After having her breakfast in Fumito's cafeteria, the girl walks happily and humming to school. At lunchtime, Saya takes the opportunity to spend time with her friends. They are Yuka, who is the toughest girl in the group, Tomofusa, who is the class representative and in love with Saya, and the twins, Nono and Nene, whose mission is to make the girl realize Tomofusa's feelings for her. Saya is very innocent and doesn't even suspect that her friend is in love with her. After school, the girl returns home and, once again, her father informs her of the appearance of a new Furukamono. Apparently, those creatures are getting stronger and stronger. Saya takes the Goshinto and goes looking for the monster, which was even creepier than the other two she had faced. That Furukamono seemed to be a mutated plant. It had dozens of eyes and roots forming a sort of tentacle. Saya managed to slice some of them, but they grew back and, worse, it also grew some huge teeth. Due to the creature's attack, the tree where Saya was knocked down and they both ended up in a deep pond. Bleeding and almost without strength, the girl manages to reach the shores of the lake, where Furukamono was already waiting for her. Saya, aware of this, waited for the right moment to attack the monster. As he approached with that devilish mouth, the girl stuck a piece of wood inside the thing, and then finishes with her sword. This one was close, but Saya defeated that bizarre plant. The next morning, on the way to school, the girl meets again that little dog that had crossed her path a few days before. Very carefully, Saya approaches him and finally manages to pick him up. The dog runs away and hides among the bushes. Due to this distraction, Saya is late for class and has to stay after hours to help her teacher clean the chemistry lab. That day, classes ended right after lunch. Saya and her friends then decided to go to Café Guimauve to eat the best cake in town. There, they are greeted by Fumito. Everyone is happily enjoying those cakes, when suddenly, a policeman enters the cafeteria. He informs her that the owner of the Nightingale Bakery, the only one in town, has been missing for 2 days. Saya soon suspects that this could be the work of a Furukamono. The policeman asks the youths to return home before dark, as there may be a murderer on the loose. After saying goodbye to her friends, Saya informs her father about what happened. He says that no Furukamono appeared in the 8 trigrams, but even so, the girl goes in search of the possible creature that is roaming the city. Her goal is to find out what happened to the baker. After searching the entire village, the girl finds the man who was missing. He was wandering through the streets. Saya proceeds to follow him until he reaches a train station. In the darkness of the tunnel, only a train car appears that slowly stops next to the baker. The door opens and the man enters the train. The lights go out and tentacles begin to wrap around the man's body. At that moment, he seems to wake up from a trance state, but unfortunately, he ends up being torn apart by the creature. This time the doors open again, and now it's Saya's turn to go inside to find out what happened. She notices that the train is filled with blood. The girl looks to the side and sees the machinist. His body completely melts and the monster appears. Saya realizes that that car is Furukamono himself. She manages to get out of there using the katana, but the train car starts transforming and the creature reveals its true appearance, releasing its tentacles through the windows. The Furukamono starts chasing her, holding the girl by the legs. He throws her away and goes to attack the girl. Saya's eyes turn red again and, from that moment on, she manages to dodge all of his attacks and slices all the creature's small tentacles. She jumps on top of the monster and plunges the sword into its head. The creature screams in pain. Before dying, Furukamono leaves a very strange message for Saya. He looks at the girl and asks her to honor the contract. Is Saya hiding something from us? It is very likely that she is. So what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.